So yesterday we have gone through SAP ERP and what is the need of ERP products for your organization and what is the role of ABAP developer in SAP ERP. So today we'll see the other basics of SAP ERP and about the ABAP. Before going into ABAP basics, first let's see what is OLTP system. OLTP is a online transaction processing system. So what is online transaction processing system used for? This is only to create the daily transactions of any business. For example, if you go to the bank to deposit some money or to withdraw some money, they're going to use some system, right? All the bank clerks. What type of system it is? That is OLTP system.
Okay.
That is OLTP system, online transaction processing system. The software might be anything. That might be SAP, Java, .NET. The software, whatever they are using, the applications, whatever they are using might be different. But what is the type of that system? That is OLTP system. Okay. By using, they create daily transactions or withdrawals, deposits, right? So in this OLTP system, any organization keeps most recent data, maybe last 5 years data. Okay. They're not going to keep historical data in OLTP systems. Historical data in the sense last 15 years data, last 20 years data. They're not going to keep it in the OLTP systems. They'll maintain only most recent data. Why they do that? Why they are not going to maintain historical data? To maintain proper performance of the system. To maintain proper performance of the system. And they don't want to create any reports or analyze data within the OLTP system because, for example, if you try to sum up a 10 million records, how much time it will take? It will take a lot of time and system resources. It will consume lot of system resources. For example, if you want to see what is the last 10 years total sales, so there might be lakhs of records, right? From for the past 10 years, they might be created millions of records in the system. If you try to sum up or aggregate all these millions of records, it will take huge system resources. But what is the main purpose of this OLTP system? To create daily transactions, right? We should not impact daily transactions by doing this reporting or analyzing the data because daily transactions are essential for any business, right? If you go to some railway station, what is the system they are going to use to create tickets? They might be using some COBOL C or whatever the software application it is, but that is a OLTP system, right? For example, if Indian Railways wanted to analyze their data, what is the total number of tickets generated in the last 10 years? And they wanted to check it by like how many male passengers traveled in their trains from the past 10 years and how many female passengers traveled from the past 10 years. If they want to analyze this data and find out the total number of male passengers traveled in a train and total number of female passengers traveled in a train over 10 years. If they want to find this count, what they need to do? They need to analyze last 10 years transactions data, right? Then only they can find this value. But in one way, in all the railway stations, ticket clerks are generating the transactions, creating the tickets for passengers. But in other way, for example, in the railway headquarter, someone is trying to analyze the data, last 10 years data. It's going to aggregate millions of records from the past 10 years, created from the past 10 years. Then, when you are trying to do that huge analysis, the server capacity depends on the server capacity. All your system resources can be consumed for that analysis. It will decrease the performance of the transaction creation. All the ticket clerks may experience issues in creating the tickets because the server load is very high. Sometimes you may observe if it is a bank or railway booking systems, they used to say that servers are not working, right? Maybe due to huge load, they might fail. That will impact the daily transactions, right? They
Yeah.
do so. If bank server is down, no one can withdraw or no one can deposit. It will huge loss for bank as well as for the customers. If the railway booking system is down, they cannot generate any tickets, right? It will be a issue again. So that they will maintain only most recent data in OLTP systems, and they don't do analysis. They just create the transactions, daily transactions. Okay.
Okay.
In
Okay.
that system we call as OLTP system.
Right.
Okay. So our SAP ERP is example of OLTP system. SAP ECC or SAP S4 HANA. The current version is SAP S4 HANA. So both are examples for OLTP systems where we create business transactions, right? That might be a sales order, purchase order, employee payroll, whatever it is, we just create the transactions. And I am saying that we are not going to maintain historical data, last 10, 15 years data in OLTP systems. What they will do, are they just going to delete the data like last 10, uh, 10 years data from now? No, they won't delete it, but they'll take backup and they'll archive it. Okay. They don't simply delete the data. They'll take some backup and they'll delete data which is old enough, which is not required for the current transactions, right? That is OLTP. So let's come to OLAP system. What is OLAP? Online analytical processing. What is the need of online analytical processing? This is purely for analysis or data analysis, reporting purpose. Mostly management will use these systems, whereas OLTP systems will use clerks, booking clerks, or whoever the front end people who create the transactions, they'll use it. If you go to shopping mall, that billing person will use OLTP system to create the bills. If you go to a movie theater, the booking clerk will use OLTP system to create your tickets or to generate your tickets. That is one transaction, right?
Yes.
But who will use OLAP systems, online analytical processing systems? The high level management. They are the one, right, who is going to analyze the business. What is the sale and what is the profit? What is the quarterly profits? What is the annual
Yeah.
profits?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
They are the one who is going to analyze the business, the entire business. So when they run that report, right? For example, if you take if you take some shopping mall, daily they used to create thousands of transactions, right? For each customer, they're going to create one transaction for each billing. For example, that shopping mall chain manager or CEO wanted to analyze what is the best moving product in month of November. What is the product that is having huge sales in the month of November across all their shopping malls? What is that product customers are buying hugely in huge quantities,
Heavy.
particularly in the month of November? And they wanted to know those kind of products which are having very high sales in month of November. What they need to do? They need to analyze the last 10 years data, and they need to aggregate data by material, that product code, and month, right? They need to sum up, or they need to aggregate all these last 10 years records by that product and month. Then they'll get products which are having huge sales in the month of November, right?
Yeah.
Now, depends on that value, they can maintain more stock, right? They can maintain those products in the month of November with huge quantities or huge stock in their stores, right? So it will improve their
Yes, sir.
business, it will improve their sales, it will improve their profits. Also, they can find what is the product or what are the products they're having no sales at all in the month of November. They're able to find it. They're able to find those products which are very poor in sales in the month of November. So they can maintain only less stock. They can minimize that stock in month of November. Again, they don't need to buy that product, and they don't need to maintain in the huge quantities. Again, they are saving money, right? By avoiding products which are not having any sales in the month of November, right? So OLAP system is helping in decision making for the management, right? Business might be anything. They have to plan their business, right? Who will plan the business? Top level management. So OLAP is a decision making system by analyzing historical data. In OLAP systems, we maintain historical data, maybe last 15 years data, last 10 years data. Depends on their organization needs. But in OLTP systems, we don't maintain historical data. Okay? Because OLTP is just to create the transactions. This is not for the analytical purpose. But OLAP is specially designed for data analysis. Okay?
Yes, sir.
So if you see this, so this is the OLTP system, and we have operational data. in OLTP systems. Operational data in the sense most recent data. Okay, most recent data we call it as operational data. And what we do here, we can create some record or we can change some record in OLTP systems, right? We can create a record or we can change the record, right? So this is OLAP system. Here we maintain historical data. Here we do only read operations. We don't insert any data or we don't change any data. We just read the data and analyze it. Okay. The data which we have in OLAP is historical data. Historical data in the sense last 15 years data or last 20 years data, like that. Okay. Where are we creating the transactions? In which system?
OLTP.
OLTP system. But how can we analyze that data in OLAP system? The transactions are actually creating in OLTP system, but we need to analyze that data in OLAP system. But how this OLTP data will be transferred to OLAP data?
ETA.
Yes, we have a ETL process. ETL in the sense extraction, transformation, and loading. So daily after closing the business hours, all the transactions created on that day will be transferred to OLAP system. Transferred in the sense copied. We are not going to remove here, but we are just going to create a copy of the data in OLAP system, right? This process will execute daily after business hours. That's we called as ETL. There are many ETL tools like Informatica and for SAP BODS. These are all the ETL tools which transfer data from OLTP systems to OLAP systems, right? And this will happen daily. The ETL process will execute daily and move all the operational data to OLAP system. And the management can generate reports by using this historical data. And we are not going to change or we are not going to create anything in OLAP. We are just going to read whatever the transactions created in OLTP. And we have multi-dimensional models here and many other features in OLAP specifically for data analysis. So what is the example software for OLAP system? So SAP BW is the example for OLAP. And there are many other third-party systems like MS BI, Microsoft BI. What else? There are many data warehousing systems. MS BI is one of such data warehousing system, right? And for SAP BW is the data warehousing system, OLAP system. Clear? Is everyone is clear on this?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So SAP definition, system applications and data products. Data processing. So SAP ECC, SAP ECC. Now most of the SAP ECC environments are going to migrate to SAP S4HANA.
As per Rana.
Okay. Okay. So as you know, SAP is a ERP product, and these are versions SAP ECC and SAP S4HANA. SAP ECC, like what is the difference between both? So SAP ECC can support any database. So SAP ECC is designed to work on any database. The customer might go with Oracle, the customer might go with the MS SQL Server, the customer might go with the DB2 or any database. These applications, this application program will work on any databases. There is no constraint on database here, right? And later, SAP designed their own database that's called HANA, right? HANA is a in-memory database. What is HANA database? Why HANA database is special? Since we have already Oracle, Microsoft SQL Server, all these databases, right? So due to their licensing issues, like because SAP has to purchase that Oracle license from the Oracle additionally to maintain that product, our customers may need to buy that license, additional license. Due to some licensing issues or to improve the performance of their systems, ERP systems, SAP designed their own database, that is HANA. What is HANA? What is special in HANA? HANA is a in-memory database. HANA is a in-memory database. What do you mean by in-memory? In-memory in the sense data is going to maintained in the RAM level. Usually in database, where the data will be reside in hard disk, right? The data will be stored in hard drive, hard disk. If you take your laptop or system, where your data will be permanently stored
Hard disk.
in hard disk. In runtime, we are going to copy the data from hard disk to RAM, and from RAM, we are going to access the data. Our applications are going to access the data, right? That's why depends on your RAM size, your system performance will be maintained, right?
Yes, sir.
How much data it can process. The RAM, what is the RAM capacity depends on that. Your laptop performance can be measured. What it will do? It will fetch the required data from hard disk, and through RAM, it is going to provide the data. Hard disk is a permanent storage, right? But RAM is not permanent storage. It can keep data only at runtime as long as the system is on. Once you turn off the system, whatever the data in RAM will be vanished, right? Because the memory of RAM is temporary. We call this as volatile memory. But I am saying that in HANA database, we are going to read data from RAM level, right? Not from the backend DB. What if the server shut down? Whatever the data in RAM will be vanished. But in HANA, we are going to maintain data permanently in the DB, and we are going to maintain the same data, whatever the most frequently used data, right, in RAM level of that database server. And it is highly impossible to turn off that server because there will be an infrastructure engineers who is going to maintain that servers 24/7, right? So whatever the data we are most using most frequently, so we keep the data in RAM level and access the data using our SAP S/4HANA application programs. So as I said, accessing data from RAM is 1000 times faster than accessing data from hard drive, right? Clear? That's why since it is providing a feasibility to access data from RAM level, the performance is very good in HANA DB. And in S4 HANA, what they did, they optimized or they simplified all the programs compatible to HANA database. Okay, so that overall they improved the performance of the ERP system by using a HANA database. and they simplified a lot of complex programs, right, to make it compatible to HANA database. So in S4 HANA, the S4 HANA ERP will work only on HANA database. It won't support any other databases. But in previous version SAP ECC, depends on the requirement.
It supports
Yeah,
every
it supports
database.
every database, right? But since the SAP has come up with their own compatible database, HANA database, so S4 HANA is only available in HANA DB. Okay. Performance wise, SAP S4 HANA is very best because it is running on an in-memory database called HANA. In what do you mean by in-memory?
RAM.
Keeping the data in RAM level.
The data in RAM.
Yeah, because accessing data from RAM is very faster than hard disk. Okay, and also it provides a multi parallel processing. That means one task will be divided into 1,000 tasks and completed independently and provide the results. Again, that is depends on the server capacity what they are maintaining, HANA server capacity. Okay, multi-core parallel processing so that they can add multiple cores to the server to improve the performance. So that's about S4 HANA, and we'll see in detail about HANA database in later classes.
Hello?
Yes,
Excuse me, sir.
yeah, yeah,
So can we store the data permanently in HANA database?
yeah. That's what I'm saying. Data will be permanently stored in deep database level, but the
Okay.
data which business frequently uses, right? All the
Mm.
data is stored at RAM level
Okay.
by using some delta merge or something. The basis will do that configurations. The most recent or most frequently used data will be available in RAM level. So our program, let's say you executed a report in ABAP program. So that report is going to get the data from RAM level. It won't go to the database, right?
Yes.
But data is permanently stored in DB because, as I said, RAM memory is temporary, right? As long as the server
Mm.
is on. If some
Yes.
accident happens and accidentally server is down, if we keep data only in RAM level, we are going to lose it. That's why
Mm.
they'll maintain a uh, permanent copy of the data and they maintain the most frequently data at RAM level.
RAM level.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even some disaster happens, the basis or the database admin can restore the data from DB level to RAM level.
Okay.
Also, the additional advantage of HANA is it has multi-core parallel processing. Core in the sense, just assume it as a CPU. One core is one CPU. For example, if you maintain 10 cores in the server, it will improve performance 10 times. Keep on, you can adding the cores 10, 20, 30 like that. Depends on your business requirement to improve the performance of the server. Yeah, these are all the functional modules. Sales and distribution, FICO, PM, plant maintenance, project planning, warehouse management, project systems. I don't remember what is PLM, project lifecycle management, I believe. Human resources, we're calling it as HCM, not HR anymore. We're calling it as HCM, EHS, environmental health and safety, quality management, and transportation. There are many modules. These are industry specific modules. Industry specific means there are some business process which are very unique, like oil companies, like insurance companies, banking. Their business process is completely different. So they come up with these solutions. IS means industry solutions. Retail industry, oil industry, utility industry, defense industry. They created these solutions only specific to these specific industries, right? And we call APO, SRM, SCM. These we called as new dimensional modules. So again, these are all functional modules. Wherever you go, we have to use ABAP programming only. Nothing difference, but there are minor differences. If you go to HCM, the ABAP what we use in HCM functional module is different than ABAP what we use in regular functional modules. Different in the sense, only few differences. The coding and syntaxes are same. Okay. And this is the project methodology. This is the project methodology, but it is a old methodology. In recent times, SAP using SAP Activate methodology. What is the methodology that we are using to implement the S4 implementations, S4 systems? SAP Activate methodology. That is closely Agile methodology. So yeah, I'll explain what is Agile and things in next classes. But here I'll give you some brief details about phase. What is project preparation phase? Project preparation in the sense they'll analyze their business requirement before going to implement as for SAP in their organization. What they do, they plan the project, right? What is their business requirement? What is the gap? Like what is the resources available, and like how many resources required? What are the functional modules involved? All that project preparation they'll do in the first phase. What is business blueprint? In business blueprint play in business blueprint phase, what they do, they create the requirement documents. They create the requirement documents for each functionality. That is blueprint phase. Okay, like they create, the functional people will create functional specification document by identify the gap, right? That is in blueprint phase. What is realization? Realization is the actual implementation. The functional consultants, the ABAP developers actually implement the project, create the developments. In which phase? Realization phase. When you say your project is in realization, when? Yeah,
When we are analyzing.
yeah, when you are working on the developments, when you are creating the applications, that phase we called as realization phase. The actual development cycle will happen in realization phase. Okay. After realization, what do we have? Complete testing. In final preparation, testing will be completed and go live activities will begin in final preparation. After realization, realization includes your development and testing. In final preparation, go live activities. After go live, once the project implementation is completed, that's what that phase we called as go live phase. Go live in the sense activating our applications in production system, production environment, right? That is the go live phase. After go live, there will be hypercare support. We call that support phase as hypercare support. It will be in most project. In some projects it will be 2 weeks, in some projects it will be 3 weeks, and in some projects it will be 1 month. that hypercare support, right? In the hypercare support phase, if there are any issues, if there are any issues in the programs or if there are any issues in the applications what we have implemented, we have to fix them immediately in hypercare. Hypercare is like warranty period for the project, right? When it is in production. So after go live, after this hypercare, normal application support will happen. Application support will continue for the rest of the project lifespan, right? This is the few phases of the project. The phases which we need to remember as ABAP consultant: blueprint. In blueprint phase, the functional specification documents will be designed by analyzing their business requirements and gaps in SAP ERP product. They design the requirement documents. In realization, we implement the applications. In final preparation, it is all go live activities. Go live and support. Yeah, once go live is completed, the support phase will start. Okay. Any questions on this? Any questions?
No, sir.
No. Now we will see the architecture. What is the architecture of the SAP system? So we have three layers in SAP architecture. This is very important. So what are the three layers? Presentation layer, application layer,
Application
and
database.
database layer. So what is the presentation layer? In presentation layer, the user can request the data and get the response as output, right? So using presentation layers, the users can request the data by providing some inputs, by using some screens. So by using presentation layer, the users can access the SAP data. That is like presentation layer can be anything. That presentation server can be anywhere in the world. As long as they have connectivity, they can access the data, right? What is application layer? The application layer contains the programs, all the application programs, which executes, depends on the user inputs. A specific application program will be executed, and what it needs to do, it needs to get the data, right? Where the data resides, where the data permanently stored in database layer.
Database.
Data will be permanently stored in database layer. So whenever user requested for some data using presentation layer, a specific application program related to that input will execute in the application layer, and that interacts with database layer and get the data and present it to presentation layer, right? For example, customer A, customer 1 trying to generate a report on total sales orders created in SAP system. So there will be some transaction code. For example, user is trying to check a specific sales order created in SAP system. To create the sales order, what is the transaction code? Anyone of you know? So, so
VA01.
VA01 is
VA01
to, yeah, is to create. VA02
sales are
is to change. VA03
VA03 is
is to
display.
display. One is to create, two is to change, and three is to display. For most of the transaction codes are like this in SAP. One, two, three. One is to create, two is to change, and three is to display.
Display.
For example, a specific user is trying to display one particular sales order. So that customer is going to execute VA03 transaction code in presentation layer. Then what it will do? When the customer executes the VA03, one application program created for that VA03 or created to display that sales order data will execute in the application layer. And by using some select statements, it fetch data, data from a specific table specially designed for that sales order data from database layer to application program, and application program to it present it to the customer, right? Similarly, every functionality is having one application program. That might be a standard program or custom program. Standard program in the sense the programs which are provided by SAP as part of SAP ERP product. Custom program, the program which we designed as per our requirement,
Requirement.
that will execute in the application program layer, application server layer, and interact with the database. Each program will have a corresponding tables, right? In database layer, you can find lot of tables. So each application program having specific tables. Program 1 contains 4 tables, program 2 might contain 10 tables that we maintain in the program level. What are the tables data we need to select, right? So this is the request and this is the response. So I'll give you a general example for this presentation layer. So I know every one of you are using Gmail, right?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
To access your Gmail, what will you do?
First we'll open the website.
So open the web browser and type gmail.com. Then what it will show? It will show on screen, right? To log in.
Login. Yeah.
Yeah,
Login.
you provide the user ID, password, and you are
Password.
able to see all your emails, right?
Yes, sir.
But where that all emails are stored, not in your laptop, right? All your emails are stored.
No.
That is stored somewhere in some country. That might be in USA or Singapore in some server,
Yeah.
right?
Okay. Okay.
So that is the database layer where those emails are permanently stored. So in some data center, some data center somewhere in USA or Singapore, right?
Yeah.
By using presentation layer, you are able to access the data. In between, they might have designed many programs to fetch that data from database layer and to your web browser, right? Behind the scenes, hundreds of programs will execute to fetch your emails from database and present it to your browser, right? There are many programs to validate your email ID, to validate your password, right?
Yes.
There might be many hundreds of programs will execute. So whatever the browser you are using, that is your presentation layer, right? So in the beginning, when they have designed SAP, they kept all these in the same system, same server. So we have that flexibility of accessing data from different parts of the world, right? If you keep all the presentation layer, application layer, and database layer in the same server, and also it is not reliable. For example, if there is any disaster happens, you are going to lose all application servers and database servers. Also, the performance is not good if you are going to maintain all application programs and database servers in the same system. Just assume server in the sense it's a one CPU. Okay, so in the as part of new architecture, R3 architecture, so SAP separated their systems as presentation layer, application layer, and database layer. Presentation layer can be run on anything, Windows or Apple or on any operating system. What you need? You need a GUI, SAP GUI to access SAP, right? So application server, the system admins will maintain on Linux operating system, mostly Linux or Windows, some Windows Server operating systems, and even again database system also. They are going to use separate operating system to maintain this. That is SAP R3 architecture. This is very important question in interviews. Any questions? Okay, we'll see what is master data and what is transactional data. So this terminology is not specific to SAP. Master data and transactional data terminology is not specific to SAP. This is common, right? So what is master data? Master data is the data which changes very rarely. It rarely changes. Master data changes very rarely. Can any one of you give an example for master data? Okay, I'll give you.
It is
So,
a
yeah,
one time storage.
yeah, most of you have created your bank accounts, right? So
Yes, sir.
Sir.
what can you find on your bank passbook?
Account number,
Account
name,
Account
number,
number, name.
address,
address,
IFSC address,
yeah, and bank name,
IFSC code,
IFSC
bank name.
code. Yes, that is the first page, right? On the first page, you can find all these details. Now tell me, are you going to change your name yearly or monthly?
No.
No,
No,
Are you going to
no,
change your address very frequently?
no,
No,
No.
right?
no,
And are you going to change, are they going to change your bank account number?
no,
No, right?
no,
Are they going to change their bank name very frequently?
no,
No, that won't change. Or your phone number, even your phone number, email ID,
mm,
you're not going to change them very frequently. You may change it, but in very rare scenarios,
rarely.
right? So the type of data we call it as a master data, right?
okay.
So now tell me one example for master data in SAP, your material master data, your customer master data. Again, sorry, it is not specific to SAP, but master data is common in any system. Customer master data, like what does the customer master data contains? Customer ID, customer name, customer address, right? All these details. This is not going to change very frequently, right?
Yeah,
And vendor master data, vendor details, and material master data. What is the material ID, material name, material properties? So these are all master data which changes very frequently. Once we define it, we change the properties very very rarely, right? So now come to transactional data. So can you give me one example for transactional data? Again, I'll come back to our bank example. Wow. Okay. So the in the bank passbook, in the first page, whatever you find is your customer master data, bank customer master data. If you open the further pages, what you can find? They print the transactions, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes.
So if you do one withdrawal or if you do one deposit, it is a transaction.
Mm.
Depends on your transaction, the bank balance will be changed, right?
Yes,
So you may do 10 transactions a day, right? You may do
yes,
hundreds of transactions a day, depends on your requirement. If you go to ATM, withdraw something, it is one transaction, right? It's going to create one transactional record in their system as a ATM transaction, and some amount will be deducted, and some amount will be, like if you do any deposit, it will create again one more transaction and it will add some amount, right? So everything is a transaction. These are, we create these transactions very frequently, right? And
yes,
depends
sir.
on the transactions, your bank balance will be impacted. It is going to change very frequently,
Change.
right?
Mm.
So these kind of data we call as a transactional data, right? I'll give you one more example for transactional data. For example, if you go to a shopping mall and you buy something, you purchase some products. Since you are a first time customer for their shopping mall, what they ask, they'll ask you your phone number and your name, maybe your email ID to register your customer master data, right? And they will create one customer ID for you, and on that customer ID they generate your bill, right?
Yes.
That is one transaction. Next time if you go to the shopping mall, same shopping mall, so they'll ask your mobile number or customer ID. They'll, whatever the transaction, they'll create on your customer ID, right?
Yes,
But they're not going to change your customer master data, but they're going to create new transaction with all your purchases, right? Like that, all these transactions should be mapped to a customer ID. Without master data, we cannot create transactions, right? Without bank account number, if you go to the bank, ask for deposit, can they do it?
No,
Without
no.
knowing bank account number, no, they can't do it,
Yes.
because every transactions should map to a master data, right? So
Yes.
without master data, we cannot create any transactions. First, we need to maintain master data, and by referring that master data, we can create the transactional data. Okay, clear?
Yes, sir.
yes, sir.
For example, I'll come back to SAP. If you need to create a purchase order to procure some material, we have to enter the material number, right, in purchase order.
Yeah.
Let's say we did not create that material master data in MM01, or that is not available in Mara table. Mara is the table to store the material master data. That is not available in material master data. So can we create the purchase order? Is it allows to
No.
create the purchase order? No. First you have to create that material master data, and then only you can use that master data in your purchase order transaction, right? For example, we'll take payroll example, and HR is trying to generate the payroll, and for some employee there is no master data maintained. On which ID they need to run the payroll? How can they know? They don't know, right? First they have to maintain the employee master data, and using that employee ID as a reference, they generate the payroll for that employee ID. Payroll is a transaction, right? But employee master data is required for the transaction. Okay, clear?
Yes.
Similarly, in SAP we have master tables and transactional tables. For example, customer master table KNA1, vendor master table LFA1, uh, material master table MARA. Like that, we have many master tables. And can you tell me some example for transactional tables in SAP? VBAK, VBAP, sales order tables, EKKO, EKPO, purchase order related tables. These are all transactional tables, right? Is everyone clear? So here in the ETL process, right? Transferring the data, what they'll do first, they'll transfer master data to OLAP systems. Then only they'll trigger the transactional data, because master data is essential to maintain the transactional data. Okay, without master data we cannot maintain transactional data. That's why first they'll move master data, all the master data created on that day, to OLAP system, and then they'll move the transactional data. Okay, first master tables and then next transactional tables. Clear?
Yes, sir, clear.
Okay, so what is ABAP? We have already discussed about ABAP. What is ABAP? ABAP is a programming language. What is for this for?
Fourth gen.
Yeah, fourth generation programming language. Okay, we have many generations of the programming, like first generation, second generation, third generation, fourth generation. So if you go to the first programming language in the olden days, what they have used? They have used some zeros and ones to design the applications, binary coding, right? Over the years, they come up with new technologies, new programming languages. They simplified the programming, right? Now, ABAP is close to our general terminology. Like to select the data, we say select. To read some data, we say read, right? So first generation language, we call that as a low level language. That is called mission language. What does a mission language contain? Zeros and ones.
Zero.
So we have to code using zeros and ones, right? It is very difficult, right? And second generation languages we called as assembly languages. Okay, we called as assembly languages. Also, they're also not user friendly. First generation and second generation languages, not at all user friendly, right? So that's why first generation and second generation we call them as low level languages. And third generation language, can you give some example for third generation languages? C, C++, VB, JavaScript. These are all third generation languages.
Yes.
From third generation languages onwards, we are calling them as high level languages. Okay, at least you can understand the syntaxes, right, in C and C++
Yes, sir.
by going through the code. So a bit of user friendly. And when it comes to fourth generation languages contains syntaxes or statements closer to what we use in regular basis, what humans used in regular basis, right? For example, select the data. We use select in programming. To read the data, we use read statement in the program. The statement what we use in these fourth generation languages, right? Very close to our general terminology, what we are using. General conversation terminology, right? They are easy to understand, right? The general terms. When we look at a statement select, we can easily say that, okay, the statement is using to select some data, right? So these are very user friendly programming languages, fourth generation. So ABAP is a fourth generation language. Perl, Python is also fourth generation language. Python is also very easy, right, to understand. We use only general terms as a syntaxes, write, read, like that, right? And we have fifth generation programming also, fifth generation languages also. So what is the special of fifth generation programming? Fifth generation languages, they are too much user friendly. It will provide tools, drag and drop tools to generate the code. You don't need to write most of the code, just drag and drop. It will automatically generate the code. They are fifth generation languages. Okay, clear?
Yes, sir.
So since ABAP is a fourth generation language, we'll see what are the advantages. Advantages are easy to understand. These fourth generation languages can be easy to understand, right? But if you see C or C++, the syntaxes are a bit complex to understand, right? Because here in fourth generation, they've used closer to the general statements, general terminology, all the syntaxes, right? But how the system understands? We are saying select, but how actually the system understand what it needs to do? What is the language or what is the what is the language that system can understand? Your hardware. System can understand only mission language, zeros and
Zero.
ones. They cannot understand anything. But when we write programs in the fourth generation, when we try to write a select statement, how the system is able to understand what is the operation it needs to perform? Because system cannot understand what is select, right? It can understand only zeros and ones. But how the system is able to perform the operation? For that, we have interpreters, program interpreters to convert these general statements into mission language behind the scenes, right? We have compilers, we have interpreters. What these interpreters will do? It will convert into mission language in background. Okay, so that system can perform that particular task, but the user is not needed to learn the mission language. He just need to write according to the program syntax. It will automatically convert into machine language, right? But for this, it may take more memory to convert that our fourth generation statements into machine language. Clear?
Yes, yes.
If you go to fifth generation language, it's going to make it more easier. You don't need to write any code. Maybe you need to write 10 or 20% code. Remaining all are drag and drop kind of activities. So ABAP is a fourth generation language. Okay. And here we use a term called what is the code we write in ABAP? It is called OpenSQL. What do we write in ABAP? OpenSQL. Please remember the two statements or two terminologies: OpenSQL versus native SQL. What is OpenSQL? OpenSQL is common to any database. It is not depends on the backend database using. Here the backend database, right? OpenSQL not depend on the backend database. It can work on any database. Okay. OpenSQL statements will work on any database. But what about native SQL? Native SQL is specific to the database. What is the database? Is it Oracle? Okay. Native SQL statements are very specific to that Oracle database. It won't work on other databases. Okay. We can write both OpenSQL and native SQL in ABAP, but it is highly recommended to use only OpenSQL statements, not database specific native SQL statements. Whatever the statements, whatever the OpenSQL statements we write in ABAP programs, right? It will be automatically converted into native SQL statements in background. Depends on the backend database. Okay. You don't need to worry about backend database. You just need to write OpenSQL statements, and depends on the database, it will automatically convert that statements as per database, right? Why we should write only OpenSQL statements? For example, see in S4 HANA, anyway, we are using HANA database. We don't know whether we are going to continue with HANA database or not, right? We cannot predict the future. Maybe SAP suddenly come up with a new database, which is more better than HANA, or due to some issues, they wanted to get rid of HANA database and they wanted to go for Oracle database, right? If you write statements on native SQL, which is database specific, and when you change the backend database, or this program is going to work, whatever the statements
No,
you
sir.
write in native SQL, no, you
No.
have to change all these programs also when you change the database in background.
Mm.
You have to change all your application logic programs which are implemented in native SQL, right? But let's assume you implemented all your programs, applications in OpenSQL, which is database independent. There is no dependency on the database. And there is some change happened in the database. They replaced HANA with Oracle. Is there any impact on your programs or your coding?
No, no.
No,
It will
there is no impact. So all these OpenSQL statements will be automatically converted into native SQL in background. Okay, that's why SAP always recommends to use OpenSQL statements. Clear?
yes, sir, clear.
Yeah, I think we can stop the session for now.